Mr. X with the Extreme channel here, with the definition of irony. I had the chance to get Deathstroke, probably one of the first US collectors. If I paid more for shipping, expedited it. I said, yeah, let's do it. Well, he landed in the US, and typically after the day he lands, he'll fly to my city. And he took off that morning, DHL Express. And apparently he never landed because he was in the air for 2 days. However, he magically appeared. And what's ironic about it is a few days ago, someone posted on XM Studio's Facebook page, how often do you think there should be breakages with XM pieces? And I didn't comment, but in my head is, they never have any breakages. Maybe some small ones, you know, Storm's hair, but they pack their things like there's no tomorrow. This was irony. Mr. X with the Extreme channel here with the latest acquisition to the Extreme collection. This is quarter scale XM Studios is the manufacturer, Deathstroke Samurai Edition. Who is this guy? Well, Deathstroke is a Batman enemy. In the DC world, he's probably the most lethal mercenary that's out there. I'm not big into Deathstroke with the comics. I do like his appearance. I think he's a cool guy. I was actually tempted to pull the trigger on a few of the existing pieces out there or some of the future ones coming. Right now for Deathstroke statue options, there's a few on the market. First, there's the old Prime 1 1/3 scale. Then Prime 1 released a new 1/3 scale. And then we have the Sideshow Premium format. And I was never going to add a Deathstroke to my collection. However, I have most of XM Studio's Samurai line. I have their Catwoman, their Bane is coming in a few weeks. I have their pretty much everything on order except their Poison Ivy. I'm not sold on that one. But anyway, I decided to purchase him, and I cannot remember where I bought him from. You know me, I get so many statues. Where the fuck did I get him from? I cannot for the life of me remember where he came from. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I went ahead and purchased him. His cost is 1,099 Singapore dollars. The conversion rate is between 75 and 80 cents to the dollar, so that's around 800 to 900 US dollars, depending on the conversion rate, and shipping is quite a bit of money. So all in, he cost over, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. I don't even know anymore. And as you saw in the intro, I had some really bad luck with the shipping. First, let's talk about the box. Pretty large box, XM Studios. Had the normal XM Studios treatment with the top art cover, mild art cover. And then had the classic foam and straps. And here's the first layer. And this is where the damage was done, which we'll look at again in a second. And then here is the second layer. And what it is, it's his leg right here, which just sets on the base. He actually, I can take his leg away. I don't want to because it'll probably bend the peg. But purchased him, and I already contacted who I bought it from. They're already working on getting a replacement, so not worried. That's very, very nice. I don't have to worry about it. It's just sitting there. But a lot of pieces on this guy. So here's a look at all the different pieces there were, and it included the base, Deathstroke minus his portrait and his arms, and then some of his sashes both on his head and his belt. There's a few little pieces here and there on the base that go in, I think 5 or 6. You have a horn, you have some stuff in the chin, you have a little horn up here, you have the flags and stakes at the back. And just like every XM Studios piece, it comes with an art man or a directions, which you know what we say about that. And then an art print, which I haven't even looked at it yet. So let's take a gander. Is it upside down? It's always upside down. And traditionally their art prints are the exact same as their statue, and these are a great addition to the pieces, with the exception of the big ass XM Studios logo at the bottom. Again, so I purchased him because I'm going all in with the Samurai line, and go check out XM Studios YouTube. They actually interviewed the owners on why they did a Samurai line, and is they wanted to do a unique take. And I actually got to hang out with them a decent amount in New York, and just fantastic people. They're really they're businessmen, but they're passionate about collecting, passionate about the pieces, and it really shows in their statues. This guy is amazing. He is really amazing. I was a little hesitant because I don't have attachment to the character, but kind of a spoiler for the review coming up, he is awesome. And speaking of the review, we're going to use the extreme scale on this. If you're new to the channel, here's the extreme scale. Instead of 1 through 5, it is T through X. T on your left being bad or trash, and X being extreme or a grail. And we review the paint, sculpt, concept, design, and overall aspect of the statue. But I'm really impressed. I absolutely love this guy. I can't wait to get Bane later this month. I'm trying to soak him in and not be upset at the breakage, but it will be fixed. Let's get dimensions, and I'm moving him very slow for reasons you saw. Height, how tall he is approximately 24 inches at the top of the hilt of the sword. Deep, let's go through under his legs here. Woohoo, getting excited. 17 inches deep. And wide, his widest point, it's not a symmetrical base, so around 18 inches. XM Studios has the dimensions on their website in centimeters, and there's this powerful thing called Google you can use to convert it. So pretty crazy. He assembled really easy, even without using the directions. It only took me a few minutes. And you know, I had kind of an epiphany when I was putting them together, and I don't use directions anymore. I remember when I first got all my XM Studios pieces, I would pay so close attention to the directions because I didn't want to break anything. Now I don't have to worry about breaking it. It comes broken. I shouldn't say that. XM Studios I've always had good luck with. This is my first major faux pas. So a little bit about Deathstroke. Like I said, he's a master, the biggest mercenary in the DC world. He has mutant ability, or not mutant abilities, but he has heightened abilities. He has super healing factor, not as good as Wolverine or anybody like that. Super strength, agility. He's a master of weapons. He his real name is Slade, which you're like, no one's name is Slade. Guess what? Back when I worked like 3 jobs when life was easy, I worked at a call center on the holidays, and they wanted everyone to have different first names. Well, I was dubbed Slade. I was in a random generator. I was called Slade. So whenever I'd answer the phone, thank you for calling, this is Slade, everyone would be like, Slade? Is that your real name? So Slade is a real name. There you go. You know, 2 people that have had it. They wouldn't let me say this is Mr. X. But yeah, so Deathstroke, very cool, very powerful guy. And again, they did the samurai aspect. So let's just jump into this concept and design of this piece. It follows the entire line. And one of the things you'll notice about the line is it's staying true to the samurai roots, but they modernize it and add some really cool stuff to it, which we'll talk about in a second. But first, let's just start at the base. And this is what sold me on the piece. I was hesitant on it, and it was up for PO, and I checked out Cisco. I love Cisco's channel and some of her close-ups. The base is amazing. It's probably one of the best bases I've ever seen. So for that reason alone, you should pull the trigger. But it's a dead skull, giant skull of some type of creature, clearly not human. And there's all these Japanese and samurai aspects to it, and he is standing on top in a museum pose. And it very much depends on how you display him. Right here you see him with a gun and his mask. This is kind of the modern pose to me, or modern switch outs, which we're going to talk about in a second. Some wind flowing, and he's sitting there very victorious, really badass. And I love, you know, all the little hints at the samurai, from some of the stuff he's wearing to obviously the huge base to the flag in the back with, I assume it's a Japanese character on it. Could be Chinese. I could be another language. Awesome, awesome concept. It goes right with the line at the end. I think I'm going to bring Samurai Batman over just to show the two next to each other. When I get Bane, I'll do all of them together. I should receive that in a week or two, hopefully. But just badass piece. And speaking of the concept, let's look at the switch outs. So the first switch out you see is the masked portrait here. And one of the unique things, here's a picture of just the right side, kind of a very traditional Deathstroke with, you know, some differences to it. You can't see his eye. And then you see the orange copper side with the teeth. Crazy, like a creature and fire going back to his head. This is another thing that sold me on the piece. And we'll look at that close in the paint and sculpt, but then also his unmasked portrait here with the man bun is amazing. This is one of the best portraits I've ever seen. It is freaking phenomenal. And when I have a Deathstroke, I want to display him with the masked portrait, but I really don't know. And again, we'll look at more close-ups with paint and sculpt. So that's one display option for the portraits. The other one is the left arm has a switch out. So he can hold the modern rifle down to the side like he is now, the shotgun. Or he can hold a sheathed sword towards the back, more samurai-like. And in the quick intro, if you want to back up and see that, I had him kind of with the more samurai style stuff. And then here, in my opinion, is kind of a little more modern. I love what XM Studios is doing with the concept of these pieces. It's unique, it's different. Eventually, probably in a couple years, I'll get rid of all my quarter scale DC pieces, except I'm going to keep the samurai line. I think they're fantastic. I think the concept and the execution of all these is an X. I think it's the best score out there. I couldn't be happier. I think they're knocking it out of the park. I saw Robin and Harley Quinn in New York, and they just continue to knock it out of the park. Now let's talk about the design of this piece. First of all, I'm sorry, I know it may not be their fault, but you cannot get an X if it comes severely broken. While that's clearly the shipping company's fault, part of it is the packaging. So design-wise, we already have a little bit of an issue to start with. Second thing with the design that I have a concern about is some of these pieces were so small and you had to put them in. I worry they may rub against each other. That's what she said. No, that didn't work. I haven't had many of those lately. I'll step it up for you guys. So, for example, down on his chin, you have 2 or 3 pieces that peg in right next to each other, and they're cool, but it is a design issue. Another design issue I have is on the back, these don't fit in the best. They're very loose. Some of them just go right in, some have a pin, so I'm concerned about that. It won't fall out or anything, but just kind of something to be aware of. Another design issue, I don't know if this gives them props or this takes away points. This sheath is not attached to his back. It's attached to his hand. It does not attach to the back. However, the way it sits in the hand, it looks like it's on his back. So first of all, I think that's ingenious. Second of all, makes me worry over time. I don't know, maybe it balances it out. So design-wise and the way everything goes together, I also partially worry about leaning because everything is resting in a pin right here. Design-wise and reshipping it, I think it's just good. It's very nice. And keep a reminder that 3 right in the middle is a good score. It means they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now let's jump into the paint and sculpt of this guy, and I can tell you right now, this is going to be higher than a V. This is going to be a W or X for both because it is fantastic. I am completely impressed with XM Studios. You know, it's interesting. I think my last piece I got from them was XM Mystique. Much, much better. Not that that was bad, but Let's start at the base here. At the bottom, this skull is fantastic. I cannot emphasize this enough. I would just keep this skull, let alone. There's so many different things going on here. I don't even know where to start, but I guess let's start with the skull and the face. So it is a rock. It obviously was a statue, or who knows, maybe it was a creature that was turned to stone. It looks like it could be both. I love this rocky texture. I love the different colors they used on it. You can still distinctly see a nose, and you see where the eye is. And look at inside the mouth here. Not only are the teeth phenomenal, they look like they've been preserved and they've been sitting there for ages. So the paint is phenomenal on it, but look at the way the tongue curls up, and it even looks like some indentations on the tongue, which makes me think this was a live creature at one time. Very, very cool. Then other things they have here, so this little chin guard, the armor guard, again, I love the wear that they mixed into both the sculpt and the paint. It looks like it's been aging for years. This is such a cool statue, even if you don't have an attachment to the character. And it's only equally cool. Look at that rope. The rope that's around it. It looks like real rope. It looks like real weathered, aged rope, and it's completely sculpted on there. Probably, I don't know if it's polystone or PVC or a mix, but it's awesome. And not just the big braids, but the little braids. And then we're getting to the armor, the helmet armor around this. Look at this intricate design. There's details in here, and they have this awesome weathering. It's bronze and green and gray and tons of other colors. And the designs are so intricate all over. I could talk about them nonstop. It is so freaking cool. Equally as cool, on the back here, they have all these braided ropes everywhere that was holding this guy's helmet together. The helmet is cracked and messed up. Look how cool this is. I am really dick riding this statue right now. Super excited. Completely makes me forget about the horrible breakage. Look at the top of the skull. First you see a bunch of the indented rock, and then you see the helmet that's completely broken. I love this. This sculpt is amazing. You see that little horn up there that was removable. And then I want to look at the bottom of it, this rock right here again. Fantastic job on the rock, the texture, the paint. It looks like they used a lot of the same colors, but it really pops. Then these spears sticking out. This is a neat little addition. They look cool. Very almost Black Panther-like to me, but samurai-like. Reminds me of that. It's all sculpted. Same with the flag here. The flag looks fantastic. I love the tears in it. I love the coloring on the flag. I wonder what that Japanese symbol means. Someone please enlighten me if it even is Japanese. And I like the base better than Deathstroke, but Deathstroke is also very good. So check out his boots here. Has these large boots, and it's so cool because there's an element of modernization in there, and then also an element of samurai ties. I mean, they kind of have this little tie at the front, almost like it's the traditional Japanese sandals, flip-flops. But then there's these armored high-tech boots, and he's been through a lot of battles, you see. There's scratches and that copper color. I think that's a great choice. They have this black wear all over it, surrounding the blue of the plates going up. Just looks really cool. And even cooler is, look at his knees. Very high-tech, but also tie back to armor back in the days. Very armored out. And then check out the inside of his thigh here. You can see the clothing he's wearing underneath there and a strap holding the armor on. And the armor follows that same paint pattern of the blues and oranges. You see it on the outside here. Very samurai-like armor, the blues, oranges, and all the battle wear and damage on the outsides of his legs. Kind of the metallic skirt that's on both sides, but he does have a skirt flowing in the wind. This is awesome looking. Something recently I reviewed, I can't remember, had a very similar like tattered cape on the back with these deep red colors running through it, flowing in the wind. Gives some movement to the statue, but I love the dark red. I love the blacks that are incorporated with it. Then check out his belt up here, or tie where everything's tied around. Again, it's torn up and raggedy, and there's a knot in the middle. That's where the peg for the flowing sash goes in. Really, really cool. And then his torso, again, a lot of the same, but that's not a bad thing. You move up his torso, the orange and the bronze and the blue and the battle damage, and then he has some grenades with a very cool looking sash and a buckle. Fully sculpted, looks real. On the sides of him, you can kind of see his undershirt, and you see some anatomy under there, which is great. Very fit. Very cool, some texture to it. And again, there was awesome texture that it wasn't over texturized on the red skirt flowing in the wind. Then check out his back here. Again, not a lot of armor, but you see that the shirt and the muscle and the anatomy, and so many different cool layers back here and straps. Tons of detail they didn't need, but they put in, and it just looks amazing. Here's his sword, the sheath, a little more high-tech to me. Looks good, nothing crazy. I want to take a look at his arms, and here you see a lot of what we've been looking at, the armor, the layering, the battle damage on both arms. Take a look at his hands here. Very good sculpt around his hands, these gloves he's wearing. It seems like he has bigger hands. His hands are a little bit bigger than I'd expect. Shotgun looks great. I like the weathering on it, and it's not too modern, but it's something you'd think of maybe turn of the 20th century, 19th to 20th century. Maybe someone more versed on firearms can educate me better. Hilt of the sword looks fantastic. And then let's check out his mass portrait first. So you see a little sash flowing in the wind. It's the same thing that's around his waist. Torn and tattered on the end. His right side, you saw that earlier, there's not a lot to it. You can see where his ear is. It seems very heavily armored. You can't see his eye, which remember, he has a patch over his eye, so I don't know if that's a permanent thing with Deathstroke. I don't know the character that well. But on the right side, and kind of hard to see over his big shoulder armor, all heroes only have big armor on their left shoulder, and I know it's, because of swinging a blade. I figured that out just now. But really, really cool. I love the teeth. I love the white eye. It's interesting, you can't see the pupil, so you almost wonder if he's mutated. I love the fact they use the same color as his armor, and it's flowing like fire. And as cool as I think this portrait is, and this was the second reason I decided to pull the trigger on this guy, it doesn't, it's not as good as the unmasked portrait. This unmasked portrait is phenomenal. Look at the hair. So much cool style in the hair and the paint and the colors, the grays and whites. Even his man bun looks awesome. You can see the black line for his eye patch running through his hair. And then look at this portrait. I don't even know where to start. The hair coming down looks great. The skin tones are perfect. I love how fresh that cut around his eye looks. Great sculpt on his ears. I like the expression. Very fierce. Very determined. It's kind of in a growl. The one thing I don't like is the color of his lips. That doesn't match to me. But I love these tones. I love the skin. This is one of the best unmasked portraits on any character I've ever seen. So really, really good, and I'm kind of torn here because there's only so much they can do with the paint and the sculpt. But I'm gonna have to give this a, on the paint, let's do that first. You know what, I have to give it an X on the paint. When you look at the portrait and the base, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's awesome, awesome, awesome. Very cool piece. And then the sculpt as well. When I think of some of the detail that went inside the mouth, on the braids that we looked at on the base, his back, all the different layers, the way the cape flows, and then his hair and his unmasked portrait. I think that's an X too. I think it's an X. Since I started this rating system, I've only given out one X in one category, and now he just got 3 X's in 3 categories. And I don't want to say he's a grail because he's not a highly sought after character. Plus, the ES on him was 1,000. I forgot to mention that. They made 1,000 of these. So it's not a highly sought after character. There's a lot of competition you saw. But I think that's the one factor that wouldn't make him an overall score of an X. And I don't think that one factor should take him down. So overall score for Deathstroke here is an X. I think he's an amazing, amazing statue. If I think like, hey, if this was a Batman, he would go for twice the price and instantly be sold out. Huge props to XM Studios. They continue to demolish it on the line here. This is my 4th piece from the line. As I said, I'm getting my 5th one. This is at least tied with Batman Samurai, if not the same. You know what? Let's get a picture of those together right now. The one thing I forgot about Bat Sam is he has a lot better switch outs. I think that is the default in this, and that's why that's one of the reasons the design got a T. But fantastic piece. Very happy to own it. Let me know of the characters that are released so far. So these 2, I think you can include Bane because people have him in hand, and Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Batgirl. Which one is your favorite? And then we'll see when Bane comes out in a few weeks if that surpasses any of these. So awesome, awesome piece. I love it, and I'm confident that Todd is going to take care of me. He's already working on stuff. So fantastic customer service. Can't recommend them enough. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you tomorrow with a custom piece. I won't say which one.